and let us all do we can to build a better future.
AOC and Ilhan Omar decided to criticize Manchin and the Democratic establishment. Right now, the whole world is understanding that the Build Back Better is failing miserably. It is being crushed by Manchin. But let's be very clear about the Build Back Better. Just because it was postponed, stopped, killed in the House, killed in the Senate, doesn't mean that the nefarious parts that would benefit the rich will not happen. They'll just probably be done separately. Remember, Build Back Better started off at $7 trillion and then was cut down by Manchin and Sinema to what it is now, a measly $1.75 trillion. Wow. Way to negotiate and fight back. And it seems like now the progressives, and throughout this time, the progressive members of the House and Senate were trying to push their power, trying in theory. But it wasn't enough. And now they're saying it's time to take the kids' gloves off with Manchin. So first, we got some comments from AOC. Let's pull up this article right here, and then we'll be playing a video as well. AOC to Democratic leaders. Time to take off the kid gloves with Manchin. Or maybe AOC, the Democratic leadership doesn't give a damn, and because of you constantly bowing down to the DNC establishment, constantly turning a blind eye to their own hypocrisy, that they're not going to do a goddamn thing. This is your party that you're a part of, AOC, and you're telling the leaders now to take off their kid gloves with Manchin? All right, good luck with that. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez remarks to MSNBC's Morning Joe came a day after Manchin's announced on Fox News Sunday that he was a no on President Biden's signature legislation opposition he pinned on being unable to explain the measure to his constituents. According to the New York Democrat who called for the senator a known ally for the fossil fuel industry, no duh, Manchin's announcements marked... Okay, here's the thing, AOC. You're surprised by these announcements. Look, let's pull up this video where she's talking to Morning Joe. I want you all to see it for yourself and hear it for yourself.
We discussed how patient progressives had been throughout this entire process. That patience didn't pay off yesterday. What's your reaction?
Well, I think what Senator Manchin did yesterday represents such an egregious breach of the trust of the president. And it's also, this is exactly why it's an outcome that we had warned about well over a month ago, about needing to plan a contingency plan for it. It's why we insisted on having the bipartisan infrastructure plan coupled and passed together with the Build Back Better Act. But I think right now we are at a juncture where it's not really about, I think, being angry. I mean, of course, we have every right to be furious with Joe Manchin, but it's really up to leadership in the Democratic Party who, made the decision to get us to this juncture and how we're going to move forward. And I think right now that Democratic leadership has a very large number of tools at their disposal, the president particularly, and it's really about time that, we take the kid gloves off and we start using them to govern for working families in this country.
Okay, all these sound great. All the words that AOC was saying sounds great on paper, but really, AOC, here's the thing. Manchin and Sinema could have been opposed way early on, especially Manchin. You have millions of followers on social media. There's no excuse saying that you couldn't collaborate with other independent media networks to do maybe an online town hall about why the Build Back Better was so great. There's no excuse why you couldn't have done your own town halls or either that virtual town halls of the like if you were concerned about COVID-19 or anything like that. You could have been opposing the Democratic leadership during the early days of the Biden-Harris administration, but you chose not to do it. And this is now too little too late. And at this point, by looking at the Build Back Better bill, what's in there for working class citizens? Because all the real legislation that was going to help out working class citizens was eventually removed, cut down, or is now a shell of what it should be. Remember, the bill started at $7 trillion, then the $6 trillion, then the $4 trillion, then the $3.5 trillion, now the $1.75 trillion. And the House progressives and the Senate progressives, they let it happen, and the Democratic leadership didn't care. Manchin has access to the White House. Manchin and Sinema have been inside the White House longer than any other progressives had a chance to speak to Biden or Harris. So what is going on? So while you are trying to rally support around you, you're late to the game. There's another video. Huge shout out to Case Study QB. He actually recently posted this on his Twitter account. He's posting up a whole bunch of great content on his Twitter page as well. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel and Odyssey page as well. And be sure to check out his work for the People's Gauntlet. Let's play this video of Representative Ilhan Omar basically saying that Manchin is a BSer. There we go. Let's play it.
Something that you've been working on in Congress. Senator Manchin has just been on TV, and he has basically announced that there is no likelihood that he will be able to support the Build Back Better legislation. Let's just listen to what he said.
You have the debt that we're carrying at $29 trillion. You have also the geopolitical unrest that we have. You have the COVID variant. And that is wreaking havoc again. People are concerned. I've been with my family. I know everyone's concerned. So when you have these things coming at you the way they are right now, I've always said this, Brett, if I can't go home and explain it to the people of West Virginia, I can't vote for it. And I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't.
He goes on to say, I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there. Brett Baer, the anchor, says, you're done. Manchin says, this is a no. On this legislation, I have tried everything I know how to do. Your response to that?
I mean, we all knew that Senator Manchin couldn't be trusted. You know, the excuses that he just made, I think, are complete bullshit.
Let's pause right here. I understand his excuses are bullshit. I understand it. But AOC, Ilhan Omar, the rest of the House progressives, what is your excuse for sitting on your hands during the early days of the Biden-Harris administration? Day one, all of you should have been using your progressive might, your political pull, your power to push Biden and Harris to the left. You could have done it, maybe in theory, maybe, possibly, but I think we all know the real truth, that nothing was going to fundamentally change. And now you're putting on this show about how upset you are at what Manchin has done. If you actually really gave a damn, you've been fighting Manchin a lot harder, calling out Ice Cream, Nancy Pelosi, and Chucky Boy Schumer, and Biden, and Harris. You could have been doing all of this. So what's your bullshit excuse? Oh, what, you didn't want to rock the boat? I thought you were supposed to go into the House to cause a ruckus. But oh, what do we see? We see AOC crying when Mama Bear was yelling at her. So she changed her no vote to a present. We've seen when Cori Bush and AOC had to run back to the House chambers, all the while forgetting, and I'm going to keep to this, that they forgot that Nancy was going to basically adjourning the House while they went on their break. But what happened? Millions of Americans were at risk of being evicted from their homes. It's an ongoing thing we keep on seeing with these House progressives. You're not fighting back. You're not raising the ruckus. So by not doing that, what's your excuse? Let's play the rest of it.
Really disheartening to hear him say that he has been trying to get there for the people of West Virginia, because that's a complete lie. The people of West Virginia would greatly benefit from their families having access to long-term elderly care and care for folks with disabilities. They would benefit from the expansion of the child tax credits. They will benefit from having access to pre-K. There are just so many things that the people of West Virginia desperately need, and we know that he is not working on behalf of their interest. And I really am just completely disappointed and disgusted by his reasoning.
Congresswoman, we have much to talk about. I always appreciate when you take time to join us.
Personally, I wish that they fought harder. I wish that they would actually have the courage to stand up to Nancy and Chucky and to Biden and to Harris. But it's too little too late at this point. And let's look at the Build Back Better bill. It's not going to help out working class citizens. There's tax breaks and tax loopholes to help out the 1%. So even though Manchin just basically killed it, the worst parts of the Build Back Better are going to get passed. And then we're going to have the same little drama going into 2022. And that's a big thing too, Democrats. This is something that Daniel and Kira have brought up as well on our show. Democrats, especially to the Vote Blue No Matter Who crowd, there was a lot of hope that this Build Back Better bill would be passed, that you guys be riding high with it going into the 2022 midterm election cycle. Once again, you've given the Republican establishment plenty of political ammunition to use against you. But see, Democrats, that's what you like to do all the time. You like to complain, you lose, and then you say, well, there's not enough Democrats in the House, that's why everyone needs to turn out to vote, and if you don't vote for us, well, then you're a fascist, you're a horrible Trump supporter, or anything else like that. Meanwhile, there's no accountability with the Democrats, and the same thing with the House progressives in the Democratic Party. No accountability whatsoever. If you actually gave a damn, you would have been fighting harder. If you actually gave a damn about progressive issues, you'd be fighting harder. And yeah, it's easy to vilify Manchin. We know what to expect from Manchin and Sinema and all these other corporate sellouts. So while it does look great on paper and on social media that you're telling the Democratic leadership to take the kids' gloves off, who are you kidding? The Democratic establishment will always favor the incumbents, and going into any election cycle, especially when Manchin and Sinema have to run for re-election, what do you think the Democratic establishment is going to do? AOC, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, and the rest of the progressives in the United States House and Senate? The Democratic establishment is going to side with the incumbents. So going into the midterm election cycle, Democrats, be prepared for the beating that you rightfully earned at this point because you've done nothing. And what I want to say to all of our viewers and subscribers is check out ballot initiatives and be sure to help build infrastructure for third parties. Because trusting the two-party system or laying on hope that somehow the House progressives are going to somehow grow a backbone and push back against the Democratic establishment, good luck. We've tried this tactic before. Just as Democrats failed, our revolution failed, brand new Congress failed, and these House progressives have failed. There's no rebuilding or revitalizing or rehabilitating the Democratic Party because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, benefiting their corporate donors.